Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into a really fascinating and maybe slightly uncomfortable topic about something we all navigate: shared public spaces. How we act when we're moving through these spaces actually reveals a whole lot about shifting values, privilege, and identity. So we're going to take a thoroughly objective look at the dynamics of cultural representation and global responsibility, zooming in specifically on how segments of the global diaspora conduct themselves when they travel. It's a great topic, so let's get right into it. We are living in an era where literally every smartphone is a camera, and every social media feed is a digital courthouse. Just think about that metaphor for a second. A digital courthouse. It hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? Today, behavioral lapses in public spaces are rarely, if ever, kept private. If you lose your temper in a cafe or totally disregard the rules at an airport, there's a massive likelihood it's going to be recorded, uploaded, and instantly subjected to global scrutiny. We are all living under a microscope right now, and this new reality is forcing a very necessary conversation about how we act when we think no one is looking. Because, well, someone always is. All right, Section 1, the digital courthouse. Let's look at how public conduct plays out today. To really understand the macro-level trends here, we first need to look at a highly specific micro-level catalyst. You might have seen this. Recently, a viral incident in Vietnam totally captured the internet's attention. An Indian family was accused of vandalizing an Indian restaurant. Now, what's truly interesting to us about this incident isn't the specific assigning of blame. Actually, the exact details are still being fiercely debated online, and we absolutely are not here to take sides on that. Instead, we're looking at this incident as a flashpoint. The sheer viral nature of the story, the way it just spread like wildfire across social media, reveals a much deeper, broader frustration with how certain segments of the global diaspora behave. It basically kicked open the doors for a huge debate on cultural representation. Because, as the source material points out, this is absolutely not an isolated event. If you travel a lot, you've probably witnessed scenes exactly like these in international transit hubs or on long-haul flights. We're seeing a really distinct pattern: children running completely unchecked, adults flat out ignoring common etiquette, and just a general, pervasive lack of consideration for shared public spaces. So the big question we need to ask ourselves is, why? Why does this behavior seem so pronounced among certain demographics? And what does it actually say about the shifting values within these communities once they migrate or travel? Moving right along to Section 2, the mirage of privilege. Let's unpack the concept of imported elitism. To figure out why this behavior happens, we have to unpack a psychological transformation that frequently occurs with migration. Sociologists and casual observers alike have pinpointed a very specific shift when some individuals migrate, for instance, from the Indian subcontinent to more developed parts of the world. It results in this phenomenon known as imported elitism. It's basically a manifestation of acquiring a new legal status, like getting a new passport, where individuals suddenly start viewing their own culture or people from developing nations through a lens of superiority. It's an elitism that gets imported right along with their new zip code. And this creates a really stark divide. On one side, you have a natural, deep-rooted connection to cultural heritage. But on the other side, you have the artificial barrier of passport privilege. For some individuals, acquiring a passport of a different color acts as a profound psychological barrier. It severs that connection to their roots and creates this entirely artificial divide. They step into a more affluent environment, and suddenly, the color of their new passport becomes this bizarre license for entitlement. So what are the actual real-world consequences of this? Well, this misplaced belief that a new geographical location or legal status somehow gives you a higher human status directly dictates daily interactions. It often results in a complete lack of empathy and respect towards service staff, local residents, and fellow travelers. The arrogance you see isn't necessarily about wealth. It's rooted in this psychological mirage. It's this imported elitism that makes people feel they are suddenly above the basic rules of common decency in the countries they visit, or even the ones they originate from. Which brings us to Section 3, the intergenerational mirror. Let's talk about the impact on the kids. Now, a single instance of rudeness in a restaurant is bad enough, for sure. But the real danger here isn't just the immediate conflict, it's the long-term generational damage. We have to remember that children are incredibly astute observers. They're like sponges. They don't learn how to be respectful global citizens through lectures. They learn through the lived, daily examples of their parents. When kids see their parents treating service workers with disdain, or causing a scene in public, or acting like local norms just don't apply to them, they don't see it as bad behavior. They internalize it as the standard. They view arrogant detachment as the totally normal way to interact with the world. The old saying, "the apple doesn't fall far from the tree," remains an undeniable truth here. If parents are out there modeling an arrogant detachment from the local norms of the places they visit, their children are practically guaranteed to adopt the exact same dismissive entitlement. The mirage of privilege gets passed down, crystallizing into a permanent behavioral trait for the next generation. It's literally a mirror reflecting conduct across decades.
That leads us right into Section 4, a call for introspection and global responsibility.
Because this issue is vastly larger than one viral video from Vietnam or one family's mistake. It serves as a really necessary urging for the global diaspora to reassess their impact. The source material boils it down to a few fundamental duties. First, cultural representation. You have to remember that you act as an informal ambassador of your heritage when you travel. Misbehavior doesn't just make you look bad, it invites unfair generalizations that hurt your entire community. Second, embracing the burden of civility. Moving to a developed nation is a privilege, but it absolutely does not grant you the right to look down on anyone else. And finally, active parenting. Modeling respect, patience, and humility in public spaces isn't some optional bonus feature of parenting, it is a fundamental duty to society. Ultimately, behavior is a choice, plain and simple. We choose how we treat the flight attendant, the local business owner, the person on the street. It is time for those who feel they have quote-unquote made it to look in the mirror and realize that no passport, no matter its color, excuses a lack of basic human decency. Because true sophistication, real class, is defined entirely by how you treat those who can offer you absolutely nothing in return.
Which leaves us with a really profound question to wrap up this explainer. How does cultural assimilation influence the way the diaspora perceives those from their countries of origin? Does gaining a new home inherently mean losing respect for the old one? I want you to think deeply about how this mirage of privilege might be shaping the interactions you see around you, or, hey, maybe even your own. Keep observing, keep questioning, and I'll see you next time.